Margavan and Melanine, and well met indeed. I am Arakir Galadirth, and the head of the modding team behind Divide and Conquer for Medieval 2 Total War. But today, we are once again playing Age of Empires. Now, the reason that we are doing this is, as many of you know, the Angmar campaign ended last week, and I didn't want to start Rune on a second slot of an episode, so that'll start next week. So we had a space, and as my lore video about the Sons of Fëanor is not yet complete, then we have diverted back to Age of Empires, as it's still played very frequently in our Discord channel. Speaking of which, before this really gets underway, this episode I am going to advertise our Discord channel. Now, I talk about it an awful lot, and the reason I don't then advertise it very often is because I cannot stand the people that just join the Discord and do nothing. So they join Discord and they don't even say hello. They just sit there, assuming that by being in a Discord with me, they're gonna, like, I don't know, get early access to a video or something. I can't imagine the reason people would join to do nothing, but people do. So I don't tend to advertise a Discord, but I will do this time because I've recently got back into playing Guild Wars, and I put a call out to those of you that wish to also play Guild Wars. This is number 2, not number 1, Guild Wars 2. And Discord obviously is a game facilitating chat service, and so it will allow us to play various games together. So there is a Discord link in the description below. You can head there, you can find out more about Discord from that, and then join us and play some games. Age of Empires is played a lot, Paradox games are played a lot, and now of course Guild Wars hopefully will be added. Right then, so to turn our attention back to this, there's some names that many of you will not notice from my previous Age of Empires videos. And there are names that some of you will note as obvious. Now, once again, the focus of the video will largely be on me, but not massively, because I don't actually get involved in this game for some time. So we'll sit up in the corner there. So to the background of the game is this is the Western Europe diplomacy map. It's one of the most famous diplomacy maps, I believe. You'll note the almost infinite fish spots that it has dotted around. Now, do note that they're not actually infinite, but there's about 25 or something fish tiles on a single slot, so it lasts for a long time. So it's Western Europe diplomacy, so no one is allied to anyone. As you saw, everyone starts in various transport ships in the middle, and you all have to sail off to find somewhere to set up as your home. Now, to go through the players this time, there is, of course, myself playing in my favourite colour, which is grey. People tell me that it's difficult to discern grey on the minimap, but I would heavily disagree. I think it's quite clearly black on the minimap, and therefore very obvious. But anyway, I'm in a minority. So I have come up here, and I have settled in, testing your geography knowledge. I went past the, I believe it's called Straits of Marmara, or Sea of Marmara. This is where Constantinople is, Istanbul now. And we've sailed up this side of the coast, which takes us up to, I don't know, are we getting close to Russia? Are we more, or is this more sort of Bulgaria? I think this might be more sort of Bulgaria. Anywho, we're over here in Eastern Europe. And I'm reasonably good, but nowhere near the best player. Now, speaking of the best player, 2 people have recently joined our Age of Empires game playing, who are unfortunately not casual players. Now, this is actually not been too bad because both of them are incredibly friendly, very nice and very helpful. The problem is just that they can beat everyone without even trying. So it makes it a little difficult for the rest of us. And I'm No Pro is one of these players, and they are incredibly good. Like when I used to say before about like Grumpy Pirate and Brassidas being very good, No Pro is on a very different level. He is approaching expert level, maybe even professional level in this game. So he is the best player here, hands down. Unfortunately, he's quite a way away from me with some mountains in between. So, and I'm already walling myself in. So there's No Pro in the blue, and he's settled in northern Greece. Well, northern Italy, really. Croatia. Now, just off to the west, settled in a very bad location, unfortunately, is Melville and Weircallan. Now, Melville is a reasonably good player, about the same as myself. And he is settled in northern Italy, which is a universally considered a bad place to go, because there's not much room for expansion. And, of course, he's now totally trapped in by No Pro, who, as you will know, is the only person currently in feudal age. Now, further to the west and in the yellow is Alex, playing as the Byzantines. And he has Spain to himself, which will be very useful in the early game as it's resource rich. Although the entire map is resource rich, so it doesn't matter too much. Settled in Africa, we have Shadow Nexus, Grumpy, and Brasidas. So to the north, around Tunis and Tunisia, is Shadow Nexus, playing as the Magyars. And fishing is very, very useful in this map, as you'll note I've gone straight for 3 docks. But to the south of Shadow Nexus is a good player, by the way. There's no one here that's actually bad. We're all average or better at the game, so it'll at least give a bit of a challenge. I'm only keeping it on slow while we just go through the team so it doesn't get run away. Settled in just south of Tunis. What would this be? Oh, I don't know. Libya, maybe? What's to the left of Libya? I don't know. Can't tell. Can't remember. But anyway, in Northern Africa is Brasidas, playing as the Indians, his favourite nation. He currently always plays as the Indians, which is a bit of a shame. Now, to the south and heading out into the deserts of what is supposed to be... Well, I think that's terribly played. This is the Nile Delta. So this pyramid is in the wrong place, really. But anyway, that's by the by. So in the south is Grumpy Pirate, playing as the Turks. So there are 3 players who settled right next to each other in Africa. There are 2 players who settled right next to each other in Central Europe. And then Alex is safe over in Spain. And I have got the entire eastern map to myself. Which, as you will note, will come into play later. Right, so we'll speed it up. We'll keep our attention mostly on Melville and No Pro for now. Right, the rules around this game are standard rules that we tend to use in diplomacy, and that is that you cannot build cannon galleons. They are not allowed. We take those out. It makes for much more interesting land-based gameplay, and it makes it much safer to basically... The problem with cannon galleons is that many people don't plan on building a navy, so they just plan to avoid cannon galleons by then building their base inland. And there isn't that much inland space, so everyone always ends up on top of each other, and it's just more fun, we've found, without cannon galleons. So there are no cannon galleons, nor elite cannon galleons. There's no loopholes here, people. And additionally, you can only have 1 ally at a time, except No Pro is not allowed to ally to anyone. So he's got to go it alone the whole game. Everyone else can only have 1 ally at a time. And once again, I will do my best to not tell you the result of who is actually going to be crowned supreme, and we'll speed it up. So in the east, I've gone for what I always go for on this map, which is build as many fishing ships as possible. As you can see, my food is running away with me, and everyone else basically goes for wood. But my scouting so far has shown me that I'm not really near anyone. I haven't found anyone yet, and I've sailed over there as well, and I'm thinking of maybe settling in Turkey. I've got even more docks up. My food goes mental. Everyone's just set me to enemy, if you'll note that, and that's because the game sets everyone to neutral at game start. And that isn't actually all that great, because then sometimes you forget to set them to not neutral, and your troops don't do what you'd want them to do. So it's best to set everyone to enemy at the beginning, and then pick your alliance after that. Right, so No Pro being sufficiently aggressive on Melv, who is abandoning his base already. And I believe No Pro is allowing him to escape, because he didn't attack his villagers. But the fighting in the south gets pretty intense reasonably quickly, but I didn't make it there to find out, really. But Grumpy has walled himself in with houses and buildings, which is a fine addition. He's also going heavily on the docks with the free fishing. He's not expanding into the east yet at all, which is fair enough. Now, Brasidas is sandwiched between both him and Shadow Nexus, which may well impact in the south. Melv has fled to Sardinia and Corsica, which is not really all that great, let's be honest, but at least his villagers are safe. So he's already been kicked off of northern Italy, which is doesn't bode too well, but... Now, I didn't know about this. If I turn back on the Fog of War, you'll note that I, at the moment, haven't even found anyone yet. I'm just slowly building towers out away from my town centre. Just testing the waters. Is anybody around? That kind of thing. I'm securing the entrance into this sea, which I always forget the name of. Black Sea, I want to say. I'm securing that entrance because without cannon galleons, towers are very powerful. Towers and castles become incredibly powerful shore defences. So if I can block this gap, then all of this fishing is free forever. But so just the fog of war, just to show you that I have no idea what's happening elsewhere. We always play Age of Empires now on Discord. I joined the chat so I could hear what Brasidas was saying. I could hear what Melv and NoPro were saying. But I was unaware of the circumstances in the West. But Melv trying to bring down the castle with a scout. It's not gone too well. Melv has fully abandoned to these... Now, this amazes me. Knowing what happens in... Like, I can't believe that he was ousted this quickly. And he's surviving on these two little islands. Well, I suppose he's got golden wood. I wonder where he'll run away to, though. Now, as you can see, NoPro is instantly doing what any expert/pro player would do, and that is expanding exceedingly quickly away from where he started. So this is his first town centre, there's his second, there's his third, there's a fourth going up over there, and I believe a fifth going up over there. So he's very much claiming Central Europe. At a time that he's getting 5 town centres down, I'm still in the feudal age with 1 town centre. So, slowly. Brasidas has built 4 stables next to the edge of Grumpy's base, but no, he can't get into Grumpy's base at the moment. He's walled and secure. Brasidas has got a second town centre. He's already going for the relics, and he's going with a fourth town centre, sorry. Shadow Nexus still only on 1 town centre, like myself, in the feudal age. Alex has walled himself into Spain quite nicely at the Pillars of Hercules. If you didn't know, that's what the gap between Gibraltar and Morocco is called. And he's safe from this side because the trees block him in. Now, arguably, he's safe, yes, but it also means that he can't expand out very quickly. So Alex is somewhat trapped and secure in Spain, although he also is going heavily on the fishing. Now, I find that only 5 fishing ships per node is actually the best way to have it. Anything more, and you've got that situation where he's sailing around all the ships just to get back, and then they run into each other when they go back out. So I try to keep it at 5 ships per fishing node and I'm outrageously ordered. So that is exactly how I've done it. I'm now walling myself in as well. I know this map. We all know this map. Possibly bar Shadow Nexus. I'm not sure if he knew it all that well, but the rest of us all knew the map. Brasidas always goes to Africa because his theory is that no one else ever does. Because people don't think it's going to have many resources. So he doesn't, so people don't go there, so he goes there. But this time he's got 2 to fend off. Melvin has fled, as you just saw. Sorry, I'm back at normal 1. This game was like 2 hours or something, so I should keep it sped up or we're going to be here for ages. But then that's alright. Pause it and watch it in 10-minute bursts if you fancy. Back to myself. Just doing resource gathering all around. I'm going up to castle. Of course, all of the resources that you see in the top left will always be my resources because I've just kept me as the main person at the moment. Because the resources don't really matter. It's a diplomacy game. Resources are easily attained. They're everywhere. And the game fighting is always very late Imperial. Well, actually, diplomacy games take an odd turn in that they're always... it's always either over very, very quickly or the game lasts forever. Or rather, actually, the fighting between players is either over very quickly, as we're seeing here. Brasidas, at the 26-minute mark, is now fully bringing Grumpy down. So Grumpy dropped a tower into Brasidas' base, which Brasidas then took down with villagers by the looks of things, because they're standing around doing nothing. And then now he's exacted his revenge. Although Grumpy's got some... Janissaries, of course. Sorry. I was going to say conquistadors then. They're Spanish. Obviously, his villagers in the town centre. He's bringing down those camels. Indians are a very camel-heavy nation, and Brasidas always trains camels. He's got a couple of rams knocking around as well. He's bringing down that town centre. He's building his own town centre just outside, which is an interesting one. Going for the gold. Grumpy using his villagers to bring down the rams. And he's secured. He is secure. He's got a town centre further over to the east and many villages over there, so he's not too bad. And Brasidas, of course, hasn't gone north yet, so... Shadow Nexus is still secure, but he's got a very small strip of land. Now, if we head back up here, Melv has escaped. Oh, I'm under attack. NoPro's found my wall, and he's coming through. So, 28 minutes, someone found me. But Melvin escaped to France, but just to his north is Alex, who is now fully at war with Nopro. Alex has sailed around the trees and got himself established in France as well. And Nopro is harassing my eastern side. So I'm having to drop a barracks because at this point I had no military structures in my base whatsoever. As you can see, my base is virtually nothing compared to that of Brasidas, who has a huge base. So Grumpy has repelled Brasidas' attack. The dead lie littered about the fields of the town centre. He's built his own town centre again, and he is moving out to reclaim ground. Now, this battle was very interesting to note because Grumpy Pirate has basically stepped down from all duties on Steam and Discord. He never really was on Discord, though, to be fair, but and he doesn't really play Age of Empires with us anymore, but this was a game where we managed to get him to play, which was very good, because with no pro in the game, we needed someone of strength. And had this been almost anyone else, Brasidas would have already beaten them by now. Because Brasidas has come on immensely and is an incredibly strong player. He spent many, many games being taught, essentially, learning and teaching, being taught by NoPro and our other professional player, Wrath, or I prefer the term expert player because they don't get paid to play, and that's what professional would suggest. But they're incredibly good at the game, so an expert would be better. I do believe that both of them have played games with people such as the Viper, so to give you an idea. But NoPro goes rather easy on me because he is still fighting Melv in the west, and now he's got Alex coming up at him in the east. So he's actually got some... He's not unsafe, shall we say. But I run my villagers into the town centre there. I've got 3 town centres now. I'm still behind. Many others have 5. And start building some spearmen. But if we head back to the south, Grumpy's still repelling Brasidas, but Brasidas is just plying on the pressure. But Grumpy's still heading east. Remember, Grumpy's got the entire eastern side of the map. He could quite easily run a villager away or something. But then it depends what he can see. Should we see what he can see? Ah, see, he does know that Shadow Nexus is there on that northern side. Oh, he's just lost all of his villagers to a castle, though. All of his janissaries, sorry. And he knows that there's no one in the east. He's made it all the way to Turkey. His resources are quite good. He's got a lot of food, but no real gold or stone. So he's trading as fast as he can. He's getting his own siege workshop up. Back in the centre, they're just trading blows between Alex and NoPro. The battle here endures for quite some time and is reasonably stalemated. But of course, Melvin is now fully out of northern Italy. Head back to the south. Let's swap over and see what Brasidas has got resource-wise. Ah, see, he has got an awful lot of resources. A hell of a lot of wood. He's swimming in the wood. Absolutely swimming, Jesus. He's only got 1 relic in his monastery, though. He's just building camels. Always the way with Grumpy. Just camels, camels, camels. With Brasidas, sorry. Now he's sending his scout through to find out what he can about Brasidas' base. Shadow Nexus begun attacking in the north yet? No, he still has not. So this little gap here seems to be the main way through their base. Ah, more camels come. Grumpy's getting lured back in towards that castle. Ah, he's pulling out. He's pulling out. And now Grumpy's in the Imperial Age, just as Brasidas goes there as well. So they're keeping up with each other. Fighting is fierce in Africa. If you're wondering what happened in my base, sorry, I built 5 spearmen and they took down all 3 of his war wagons, and he moved his catapult too close, and my town centre brought it down, and then he stopped attacking. Oh, NoPro is claiming naval dominance, and he's attacking both Brass and Grumpy. So far, the only one who has actually built a navy. He's got ships roaming around, but he's coming up to the gate, the entranceway to my ocean, and he bloody well won't get through there, I can tell you. Owing to the strength of towers. And of course, I've just got ships. So I'm protecting my holdings because my entire food source, as you can note at the moment, I don't have any farms. All of my food is coming from docks. It's given me 10,000, but it's all coming from docks. Do note that I'm playing as the Italians. Sorry, I didn't mention that. The Italians are very much my favourite nation, and I like their design, I like the way that they play, and they're amazing on diplomacy games for one key reason, in that my fishing ships cost half as much as everyone else's. So they're very good for fishing in the early game without ruining your wood supply, and it means that's why I've got 10,000 food. Now in the south, Grumpy's food has gone down with the attack of Nopro, the intervention of Nopro. Grumpy has still gone further east yet again, but his army is being pushed back slowly and steadily, and Brastas has come with a treb. Grumpy's moved his Janissaries in. Oh, but it's not gone well. It has not gone well. Oh, they've taken a lot of damage from that. And the Rams make it to the town centre. Excuse me, sorry. Grumpy dropping a monastery, interestingly. To heal his Janissaries, of course. His town centre's going down. He's not going to stop those Rams. But as I say, he's still safe in the east. He's still safe in the east. So, he's not done for yet. But of course, neither he nor Brass have any naval dominance whatsoever. They can't do anything against Nopro's assault on the ocean. Now, Nopro himself is just spreading out like a plague, but he is being held in check by Alex in the north here. Sorry, I can't be everywhere at once, obviously, and the fighting in the south is a bit more fierce, a bit quicker. But Alex is in the Imperial Age, he's dropping trebs. He is actually pushing Nopro back. Now, Alex and Melvin are either allied or they have a no-aggression pact. Now, what I actually do know, unfortunately, that is this is something that we all kind of do, and it's... So, as I said at the beginning, the rule is that you can only have one ally. But there's no rules around non-aggression pacts. So, what we quite frequently do is we'll only take one ally, and then we'll find another team of two, and we'll say to them, right, we won't attack you, you don't attack us, let's kill this other person. So that is what's happened here, because I know for a fact that Brasidas has allied to Alex. So Brasidas, who's in Africa, has allied to Alex in Spain. And there we go, Grumpy resigns, and that was why I was focusing so heavily on the south, because I knew Grumpy resigned. Now, Grumpy put up a hell of a fight, though. He lasted an incredibly long time. But it's the trebuchet. The trebuchet in the castle on the edge has finally got him. Now, he could have run away, though, is the only argument I would say, but Grumpy was always rather impetuous. And that works both ways. Because if he had fled, he had the entirety of Turkey to himself. Because as you can see, all I've got is a little colony mining gold and stone. So I'm not really there. And he could easily have run away and left Shadow Nexus to deal with Brass. Additionally, Grumpy never sought to ally with anyone. Grumpy could have reached out and tried to ally to me, for example. I'm not currently allied to anyone. Neither is Nobro, because he's not allowed. Melvin is not allied to anyone, and he's got a non-aggression with Alex, who is allied to Brass. Now, these alliances pretty much remain till the end, I'm afraid. No one backstabbed today, which is disastrous. It's utterly boring when people don't backstab. I backstab all the time because it's bloody good fun. And the wrath that you get from people when you're allies with them and then you subtly start dropping castles in their base, or you just tell them that moving your army through their base is a faster way to the enemy when clearly it's not, and then you turn against them and you bring them down. It's so much fun hearing that hatred for you in their voice when they realise that they can't do anything because an ally, a border they thought was once safe, is no longer, and it's so much fun. But I'm the only one that really does it, so everyone is very wary of me, which is part of the reason why I've got no ally. But which is a downside, I suppose. But still, it's incredibly good fun to backstab people. I heavily suggest people do it more, but they're all boring, especially Brasidas. He plays by some ridiculous honor code where he refuses to break alliances. And as you will see a little later on, that bites him in the arse. Although, not as much as I would have hoped. Right, we'll speed it up a little bit as much of the fighting is done. Nopro is now just mopping up in the ocean there. Brass has no answer. But Nopro won't come for me because I've secured that northern side. The towers will do it. Shadow Nexus now will have to start thinking about what he's going to do about Brass. Because Brasidas now has no enemy. Those are my resources we're now looking at once again. Right, so Brass is just clearing up Grumpy's base. He's claiming Africa for himself. Back in the north, the toing and froing between the Byzantines and the Koreans are who Nopro is. Sorry, I didn't say that, did I? Nopro is the Koreans. I believe he got them randomly. He didn't choose them. Now, Nopro and I have no such agreement. We are We just haven't attacked because I haven't got an army, really. But I'm getting some elite Genoese. And my navy, of course, has already beaten him out of... I'm sure this is called the Straits of Marmara. I'm pretty sure that's what this is called. There's another town centre for me just there in Istanbul. And my towers are up to keeps now. I should also have said at the very beginning, sorry, I have various different graphical mods that change almost every nation's design. Save for, obviously, the new nations. But otherwise, I've got a lot of graphical changes. So if we look at Alex's actual base then, he has also not really resorted to farming yet because, again, the fishing is so strong on this map. He's got a bit of farming there, but mostly just fishing. Melvin has got his little, like, V space here, but he's not doing anything. This is the town of Messia, isn't it? I want to say Messia. Famous Roman trading town, which is now around where Saint-Tropez is. Can't remember the name properly. Anyway, that's totally unrelated. NoPro does not have murder holes because he can't attack Melvin. Or they've set themselves to neutral. Probably they've set themselves to neutral. So there's no real developments in the south, save for Brasidas getting harassed on the coast, but nothing severe. And he's dropped a castle now, so NoPro will pull out soon enough. So Shadow Nexus must just be quaking. He's got no space. He's got a tiny base. He's not fled. He's not even scouted. Let's just have a look. Shadow Nexus. No, he can't even see Turkey. He's just got his little corner of Northern Africa, and a storm that he has no idea about is about to come down hard on him. I don't know if Shadow Nexus knew that Grumpy was over there. I mean, he can see that port and he can see that port, so maybe. But if he knows that Grumpy's there and he knows that Grumpy's gone, then he must surely know that he is next on the list. But we'll see. We will see. I reached the Imperial Age some time ago, and I'm building an army of what I believe the Italians do best, which is as many bombard cannons as you can throw a stick at, and Genoese crossbowmen to annoy anyone that thinks cavalry is going to be the answer, and then normally hand cannoneers to deal with any infantry. The downside, of course, is skirmishers, but that's why you build as many bombard cannons as you can shake a stick at. The Italians, if you haven't really played as the Italians, we get cheaper cannon everything. So anything that uses a cannon is cheaper for us, 25% in fact. So that's hand cannoneers, bombard cannons, cannon galleons, and that's it, isn't it? Those are the three. Yeah. So we get cheaper gunpowder units, they are called. Our unique unit, the Elite Genoese, if you also do not know anything about Italy, is an anti-cavalry archer, which is so much fun. And the reason it's a lot of fun is because cavalry traditionally are archer counters. So people see that you're sending archers, they don't think about it, and they send in a horde of paladins. Or better yet, hussars. It's that you've not lived until you've seen 60 elite Genoese crossbowmen tear 120 hussars down and lose about 5 of their number. It's just such fun. But that's what the elite Genoese does. It counters cavalry, which is why people are often wary of it. Of course, it's very easily countered with skirmishers or other archers. It's a very niche unit because it's not actually a particularly good archer. It's just good against cavalry. And other archers are incredibly good against the elite Genoese, and especially, of course, skirmishers. So you've got to support your army with bombard cannons, which we will shortly be doing. I'm trying now to get as much gold as possible. Obviously, I've got a lot of gold dotted around, and I'm trying to ensure that I can maximise my use of that. But let's speed it up again and head up to the north where the real fighting's taking place. So, to give you an overview of these two then, the Koreans get better siege than anyone else. They get increased range and they get increased or decreased minimum range, which NoPro actually moaned about incessantly in this game because he killed so many of his own catapults because they have a smaller minimum range. But they also have increased range, which is very good. Of course, the unique unit for the Koreans is just, despite its look, it is just a cavalry archer, and it's affected by anything that's good against a cavalry archer or cavalry. So the Genoese crossbowmen are good counters to this unit, but it's just a bit of a tank, really. It's got a lot of health, it's got some good armor on it, but it is just a cavalry archer. That's the war wagon, the elite unit, unique unit of the Koreans. The Byzantines get cheaper trash. Now, trash is any unit that doesn't cost gold, and these are skirmishers and pikemen. And hussars as well, the cavalry unit I spoke of a moment ago. So the Byzantines get cheaper trash. So they can throw out their trash. Now the Koreans, though, get the increased range on the main onager, or the onager apparently. And the Onager is traditionally an anti-trash unit. So it's an interesting mix-up between these two. The Byzantine unique unit, the elite Cataphract, is just an all-round unit. There's not really a weakness to it. It's a cavalry unit with an outrageous defense, outrageous health and attack, and it gets a huge bonus against infantry. And with the unique tech of the Byzantines, it does trample damage. And this means that its attack affects everything around it. So it's a very good unit. That's why Byzantines are widely considered the game's most beginner-friendly faction. Because they get counters to everything, and they get cheaper counters. Their buildings have more hit points as well, so it's just harder to bring them down. They can just survive longer. And I would say with fair impunity, I believe, that they are the game's beginner faction. I don't think there is an easier faction than the Byzantines. They also get almost every unit type. Like, they don't really have a clear failing anywhere. They are such an all-rounder. So I'm surprised more people don't play as them, to be honest. But I think it's because people don't really like them. Don't think people like the fact that they're all-rounders. And additionally, I don't think people like the fact that they have the Middle Eastern design, which has irked so many people for so long. Now, there is, recently, there's a data editing has come back to HG, and there has been a mod released that now allows for every nation in-game to have their own unique architecture. But unfortunately, to play multiplayer games with anyone else, they have to have exactly the same data mod installed, so it's a bit of a hit and miss. And many of the players who play this game regularly in Discord with us don't really care for the mods, and they just play the game. But I really like the mods. I love modding. I'm a modder. Of course I'm going to love them. Oh, the Cataphracts are charging in, and they've stopped, and they're just getting slaughtered. Those war wagons can bring them down in one volley. Ah, they're bringing in to stop the Treb, of course. And Nopro, expressing his hatred for his own unit, has just helped bring down the Treb with a volley from his own siege onagers. Let's speed that back up. That battle's ended. A couple more units go down with the outrageous survivability of the Cataphract. And then Nopro retaliates. Right, and if we head back to the south, Brasidas has totally cleaned up Grumpy, save from a few walls, and he is now spreading out across Africa. He will soon find my little colony. He's sending in some camels. Now remember, Brasidas is allied to Alex, so he is going to want to support Alex. But him and Shadow Nexus have still not done anything. Shadow Nexus is really, really trapped. I'm really surprised he has not tried to flee, because he's got nothing. He will be a walkover for any enemy in the game at the moment. Brasidas is moving through my base. Now, at this point, I'm not at war with Brasidas, and he's not at war with me, although we're set to enemies with each other. And I'm questioning why he's sending camels through my base. And he suggests that he's going to help Alex, was what he said at this point. And this is my little colony over here, by the way. No, I couldn't have that. I could not have that he's got camels moving through my base. And he quickly establishes that there's no way through my base. So he reaches my castle wall, and he returns, at which point I start drawing a castle there. Well, I needed one here to protect my pass through into here anyway, and I thought, oh, for good measure, let's chuck another one up. So we make sure that Brasidas's camels take a fair beating for their venturing through our lands. So there you go, down. Now, in the north, Nopro and Alex still just stalemated in northern France. Just sort of fighting it out here. Although I think we're probably eking more towards like Germany now. Well, that's probably Denmark, isn't it? Yeah, so like Central Europe. Sorry, I really like geography, and I like to know where things are, and just trying to work it out on the map is quite a fun little tale. Now, Brasidas is scouting around and is amazed to find that no one has taken Eastern Africa or Turkey. It's very much a no man's land, but of course he's now seen much of my base. So if we swap over to what he can see, he's gone straight through there, and he knows that I'm over here. But he hasn't yet found me, apart from he has found my town centre. Nopro still harassing the sea, but nothing severe there. And Shadow Nexus in the north still. Brasidas, an outrageous number of resources, as you can see. I have a lot less wood. Now this is the point where I then assisted. Stupidly, I might add. I then joined the fight. So with Nopro having to fight Alex in the west, I then came in with a hell of a lot of bombard cannons. Skirmishers to take up the flak. and Genoese to try and counter his war wagons. Got there in the end. Now, his onagers basically take down most of my army. We're in a tiny little gap. I've not manoeuvred anyone really, and I brought the bombards to deal with the onagers, but they're just out of range. Also, a bombard for the Italians have 12 range, and an onager has 10. So it's a very short window of opportunity to get your shot off. And normally they can shoot long before the bombard bullet hits them. Now my army gets completely obliterated by the outrageous number of onagers he has. But I've got a lot of resources, and I'm right here. So I start throwing out more skirmishers. I've also come with a horde of trebuchets that start just firing pot shots into this area. Oh, soon enough, anyway. He sends his onagers out. I should have cut through the trees. There we are, now that they've stood still. We bring down those siege onagers. And we move these out before we get into any trouble. Now, in the west, Melvillon has now supported. Now, this is a point that irks me for much of this game, because Melvillon is essentially now just allied to Alex. Now, you will note that Alex is actually attacking Melv, because they're not technically allied, but they are supporting each other in a way that they basically are allies. But it's not against the rules, and I'm very fond of breaking rules, so I'm no place to comment. Right, we moved our trebuchets out because they did get shot. And we're sending in the skirmishers. Now, skirmishers, as I say, are trash. It doesn't matter. They can quite easily take the number of deaths they're about to go through. However, Brasidas is now moving in to basically attack me. He's sending in villagers as well. Annoyingly. Look how many elite Imperial camels he's got. Now, I've only got a little bit of a colony here, but I want to hold it. So I'm starting to get elite Genoese. Got a couple of castles up because I've got a ton of stone. Getting Genoese crossbowmen in the gap there as well, because I can't let him into my heartlands, of which we have much. Now, it is at this point when I realise that Brasidas is coming, that I then reach out to Nopro and I say to him, look, Nopro, you're now being attacked by Melv, Alex, and me. And I'm about to be attacked by Brasidas, and fighting on two fronts isn't going to help me out at all. So I propose that you and I go through a no-aggression pact. And whilst he deliberates on this thought, while my army is attacking him, just adding some weight to my suggestion. So I'm saying, like, let's be friends, or this attack will endure, and you'll basically be sandwiched between three people. Nopro molds it over. Oh, I don't think I've actually suggested it yet. I think I wait until this outrageous horde of camels comes and finds my base. The increased range for siege, as you can see, is because he gets siege engineers and the Italians don't. So my bombard cannons are actually outranged by the bombard cannons of the Koreans. But my bombard cannons cost less, so I can just have more for the same price. But this is when we agree. So Nopro and I now agree a ceasefire. I forget to move these skirmishers, but the bombard cannons pull out and Nopro sends his whole army to the west where it's actually needed. And we set each other to neutral. So now I can focus totally on Brasidas, who is coming in the south. So now there are two clear theatres of war here. In the northwest, Alex and Melv are harassing Nopro constantly. But Nopro has this whole area. He's very secure. He's got no troubles yet. And Brasidas sends in his attack on me. He sends in the camels to take out my bombards. And he's got trebs dropping in on our castles. And with the outrageous amount of stone I have, I tried to drop more castles, but too late, unfortunately. But the swing in the south, I'd almost forgotten that this happens, owing to what happens a little later. But I've got some Genoese there. There's more Genoese coming. I've got Trebs coming, and the cannons are now on their way as well, although they take bloody ages to get there. They have a really bad day about it. But Nopro and I are now fully neutral, so now it's all in the west for him. as he's really taking a battering from the Khmer. I didn't say that either, did I? Melvolant is the Khmer. They're one of the new factions. Their specialty is this unit here, the Scorpion, because their Scorpion fires 2 bullets. Their unique unit is a Scorpion mounted on top of an elephant, which also fires 2 bolts. Now, Scorpions, though, it's an interesting matchup because the Onager, again, is outrageously effective against Scorpions. And so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, really. But Nopro really is under the cosh. But Nopro is one of those cool, calm, collected players that can really look at a situation and decide whether or not he's actually beaten, or if he can still go on. So despite many other players looking at this and thinking, oh, well, I'm done for, Nopro will look at this and think, oh, well, I've got all of this still, and I've even got Greece I can still expand into, so bring it on. Now, I've built some ships just to make sure that no one comes through my central section there. Interestingly, Shadow Nex has still not fought anyone. I've never seen such a slow play in a diplomacy game. Now, of course, he'll argue that that's because he's trapped on this little slip of Africa. But why he didn't flee the minute he realised he had no land, I don't know. Not necessarily flee. He could leave this base here, but just sail someone away. Just scout out. Find somewhere else to go. Brasidas very much brings down my small little holding here, but what he doesn't realise is that while this holding is going down, my army is mustering in the west, and I've started building siege workshops. Turkey will remain in the hands of the Italians. My ships also, because I know this map very well, and I know that this little strip of land here is the only way between Africa and Turkey, and so I think I shall send in some ships. And this I do, and the amount of times that Brasidas gave me that most satisfying noise that suggests that he's really angry at what I've done because it's common sense, and he was hoping I wouldn't think of it. He has a special little noise for that, which is his frustrated noise. And he soon realises that frustration when my ships arrive at the Nile Delta. Now, the Italians are also quite good on the naval front because, as I've already said, our fishing ships are cheaper, our cannon galleons are cheaper, although I can't build those today, but our cannon galleons are cheaper. And also, every single tech in the dock costs 50% less, which just means that you can upgrade your ships way cheaper than everyone else. But we finally close off that gap. Now, our side here has gone down, but just as our Western army attacks. Now, what can Brasidas see? He can only just see this attack coming. He has no idea of what I've added to Turkey. And that's a hell of a lot of trebuchets. The reason I'm focusing more on the south now is because in the west it's stalemates for a very long time. Spoiler alert. With me and Nopro neutraling out, then they don't really have too many wars to go. Now, on this eastern side, his skirmishers are taken down by the sheer number of Genoese, and because they came one by one, like skirmishers counter archers, yes, but you need to have a lot of them. Brasidas gets another castle up, and he starts building walls, but of course he's now cut off. Everything he has in Turkey now stands alone. I don't know why I didn't delete that castle, because even a little bit of stone back would have been better. I've still got my little colony fighting here, but it's not all that strong at the moment. He's bringing in his own siege, but he is also unaware of the outrageous number of cannon galleons I'm about to bring. But the cluster in this area is stupid on my part. Now, he's also concerned because the camels are a cavalry unit, and the Genoese crossbowmen counter them. So Brasidas isn't going to want to rush them in a hurry, because he'll get countered. But he does have some reasonable success with these onagers, going for the trebs. But unfortunately, they take a little bit too long, and our trebs just start dropping that wall, and the bombard cannons arrive. The reason I'm finding the bombard cannons so fun is because Brasidas had a little bit of a meltdown when he saw how many I sent in. And it almost got to the point where it sounded like he was going to rage quit because he just couldn't think of a way to deal with this horde of bombard cannons. But he does have one thing going for him, and that's his Imperial Bloody Camel, which, whilst being negatively affected by the Genoese, it's still better than normal camels, and they fight on for bloody ever. Although I've got a couple of castles and even more bombard cannons supporting in the back there. Oh, I do hope I've got the sound levels right, because otherwise all you're going to be hearing at the moment is the crack and thunder of the cannon. Now, Melvillon has actually broken into the centre, the very safe spot of NoPro's base with his outrageous Khmer elephants. Alex is assisting in the north, but his army's largely been depleted. But NoPro, of course, remember, now has no threat from me. And he starts moving his army a little away. It doesn't look like he's even got murder holes. I don't think he has. Does he even have a university? Build murder holes, you nutter. Oh, that's just mental. Anyway, so in the east, Brassidas gets some success, but I just have too many bombard cannons. My army survives. Even the trebuchets start bringing down skirmishers. And of course, remember that Brassidas can't get through. He could, of course, tool up and go for ships, but he's currently blocked off by NoPro's navy. So Brassidas has no real way of stopping this, so he has no hope of getting support. But he does break through and get most of my villagers there as well, which is a shame. Oh, I added more docks as well, by the way. Notice that. My actual base, many of the resources are gone. Still no need to get food. I haven't even got berries yet. I don't have nearly enough villagers, really. It's a 400 pop cap game. Alex has, however, sent in his superior Byzantine fire ships, which I don't know how they got through. He must have... Shadow Nexus must have allowed him through. Now, the Byzantine fast fire ship is better than everyone else's, and they just shred everything. They're unbelievably good. It does make the game very interesting when you take away cannon galleons, because certain nations who before were maybe not as great suddenly become one of the best naval nations in the game. And the Byzantines very much fulfill this criteria. Brassidas is having some limited success by just building millions of Imperial camels. He just never stops building Imperial camels. But I then add an interesting little tidbit to the battle, in that, of course, the Italians don't just get the Genoese crossbowmen, they also get the condottiero. And the condottiero is good against gunpowder. So as soon as I noticed that Brassidas had changed up and was going for gunpowder, I added barracks to my little haven. I'm not trying to destroy the trees, only to remember that bombards can't take down trees. But the gap here very much helps us, and we block the camels in and just drop them. Now, the condottiero also trains incredibly quickly. It's one of the fastest training units in the game, in fact. So it's very easy to muster them into a force. And this we do. The condottiero blocking, the cannon galleons dropping the camels. Now, a couple of my barracks do go down. My villagers get totally ignored, which is interesting. Oh no, he is going for them now. Oh, that was overkill on that skirmisher, wasn't it? He's bringing in his own trebuchets. He also gets siege engineers, so his bombard cannons outrange mine. But let's not forget that mine are cheaper. I'm not sure if it actually is, but I'm just going to turn it down. So it might be unbelievably quiet now, but it's still bloody good fun, isn't it? Just watching these armies go. So the Byzantines did win the naval battle in the centre there. And Brassidas cannot get his troops past the naval blockade that I have imposed. Too many ships, too few options. And now that we have the condottiero, the other bonus of the condottiero is that the skirmishers are not very good against them. So while the skirmishers are focusing on them, our army is moving up behind and dropping the skirmishers. And I've got a lot of food, a lot of gold, and a lot of wood. So has Brassidas, though. So those are my stats, and those were his before. So I can train for days, and he can train for days. So how is it going to go? But, as I just said, the condottiero counters both the cannons and the skirmishers, because skirmishers are countered by melee troops, and condottieros are just a weaker version of a champion, with a bonus against gunpowder. So the full... This is everything the Italians do well. Bombard cannons, Genoese, condottiero. Brassidas is pulling his hair out. He has no idea how to counter this. And with my lovely little naval blockade ensuring that only a few camels are getting through from his homeland, he doesn't really have any options. So our colony fell, yes, but we will bloody well avenge it. Nopro has been forced further and further back, and he now almost borders me, but much of his base has gone down. Melvillin has gone on a rampage. Nopro has been heavily cut down, which is a bit of a shame, but he has moved to Greece. Melvillin has managed to reclaim his starting domain, rather. But let's not forget that him and Alex are still not allied. Oh, no, sorry. Him and Alex then did ally. Melv did ally. They then thought that me and Nopro had allied. Now, me and Nopro never ally at any point in the game, and the chat on the side will tell you that. Oh, I think we might ally at the end, actually. But it's very much a sticks and stones, because Alex, Melv, and Brasidas think that I've allied with Nopro, so Melv allies with Brasidas and Alex, and then when me and Nopro find out that they've allied to be a team of 3, which is against the rules, I then ally with Nopro. So it's a swings and roundabouts, as I say, sticks and stones. And it's all because of false rumour. But that always happens in these games. It's all a bit of a laugh, really. I mean, me and Nopro having a no-pact agreement really annoyed them. But then they had a no-pact agreement with Melvillin, who should have been defeated ages ago when he fled to southern France. But Alex gave him refuge and didn't defeat him, and so here we are. Right, I've built a couple of onagers because I'm going to cut my way out of this predicament I'm in. And there we are. The Horde has now beaten. Brasidas is now... He abandons this side now, so we can just speed up and move over. So, my ships are the real reason that Brasidas stops, because he can't get his villagers through. He can't get any support through, and he just goes down. The Condottieri, the lightning little buggers that they are. I reclaim Turkey, so I'm now in a very strong position, and as you'll actually note, I'm currently the game's highest scoring player. Which is interesting. Now, Shadow Nexus, I totally didn't focus on this side. Shadow Nexus either invoked the Wrath of Brass, or he is just preempting that Brass might attack him, but either way, he's now fighting Brass. So Brasidas, not only has he lost out on this eastern side, and Turkey now belongs to me with my horde of bombard cannons. But he's now also got Shadow Nexus attacking. But Shadow Nexus unfortunately sent in the Magyar Hussar, and the Magyar Hussar is countered completely by the Imperial Camel in a way that's just not even funny. So it doesn't bode well for Shadow Nexus, is all I will say. And he's not long for this world, as you might imagine, because his base has already basically been taken out. I assume he attacked Brass and Brass retaliated, but I'm sorry, I missed the moment. Either way, even if Shadow Nexus had all the resources in the world, how many resources does he actually have? Oh, yeah, no, he's totally out. Compare that to, say, myself, that many. Brasidas. We've all got about 10 times what Shadow Nexus has. He's got 2 castles, though. And he's dropping things over the... and using the protection of the mountains there to annoy Brasidas quite sufficiently. Oh, and Brass now has his own navy sweeping in to counter, because I have now cleared him out of Turkey completely. This is now a safe haven. Get another town centre up there. I've cleared trees for my barracks construction. However, it is now a matter of time. Nopro very much has 2 distinct bases with a bloody gap in the middle. His northern base, which is now far up here in what is Poland, and his southern base still in the edges of the Alps. Oh no, what does that reach out to? Oh, I don't care. This land here. Now, do you know that this little walkway here is actually a gap, which we'll discover soon enough. Just to give you a preemption. But I have arrived at Brasidas' base, so I've got my navy supporting on the coast. The Condottieri charge in, and the cannons are coming. Now, Brasidas felt that this game was over a couple of times before the inevitable actually happened. But his navy arrives to support. Now, the Italian navy, whilst getting cheaper research, getting cheaper fishing ships and cheaper Callan galleons, in terms of actual battle stats, they aren't any better. So the fact that he's got more is enough, basically. Well, Brasidas doing what he can to hold that side. But the bombard cannons are supporting the cannon galleons. And that assists. In the north, there you go, yeah. We discovered that this was a gap, but I quickly put up a wall and then a couple of towers, and Melvin is beaten back a bit. But Nopro holds Alex for quite some time on that northern side, as you can see. He's really holding out here. He's got an army of trash now, which isn't all that wonderful against the Byzantines, because they get extra good trash. Now, this is where I think my failing comes, because I should not have left my army here to defeat this navy from the sea. It just doesn't matter. I should have pulled the bombard cannons inland. It was a bad decision on my part. But Brasidas is still taking down Shadow Nexus in the west. Alex's navy has now arrived, so any ships that I might hope to have had, because I did send in a secondary fleet that I had trained from the area there, the Isles, the Aegean Sea. I did send in a secondary fleet, but the Byzantine fast fire ship is so much better than everyone else's that it just didn't matter. Right, so we've beaten Brass out of much of the east now, and we arrive at his more central base. We've got an army of Condots, some Genoese, and a lot of bombard cannons. Now Alex goes off in search of me, but he's got to get through my little military blockade. But Nopro now has no base in the south, basically. And Shadow Nexus abandons the game, quite rightly, as he is defeated. But it does take a little bit longer to go, though. Speed that back up. Oh, let's go and check on the ships. So, Alex arrives at my central base. Now, the towers, as you can see, do good damage against the ships. But there's just loads of them. And ships are so unpredictable that the ballistic effect doesn't always get them. But quite a few of his ships do pay for their journey through the Straits of Marmara, the Sea of Marmara. We've arrived at the edge of Brasidas' base. Now, Brasidas has just dropped a load of castles to hold himself. And his ships are blocking the Nile Delta, so support is not going to come through anytime soon. But of course, bombard cannons outrange castles, and so we have the advantage there. Now, our fishing now goes down, and I actually have to start speccing into farming, which is bloody annoying. Because all of my fishing ships get taken out. Although I do start training more ships again and putting bombards on the coast there. We're attacking Brass. Right, so there we are, Mel finishing off Nopro in the centre. Shadow Nexus still hasn't actually resigned yet, but he has only got a castle and some ships. There's the falling of my Black Sea base. Now, Brasidas speccing into something that's going to give him the best chance, skirmishers. However, as we've already seen, skirmishers are countered by Condottiero. But I make some really bad decisions here, and I'm very disappointed in my performance, I must confess. Really bad decisions. Alex has arrived there, but fortunately the wall that I built at like the 20th minute is keeping my base safe. So a lot of my villagers go, but that's not a problem. We get some Condottiero just to man the wall. And as you will note, Alex is taking down all my fishing ships. We're also getting trebucheted through that gap, which is bloody annoying. But Nopro has been pushed even further back, and he now has this northern section entirely. But in the south, Brasidas came with camels. I wasn't quick enough. Foolishly slow. And whilst the Genoese get a bonus against the camels, they still take ages to go down. And as you will note, to speed this up, a huge chunk of my army is killed. And I'm just far too far away from my own base. Now, my army does still survive, and Brasidas is still very outraged at this. But he can just continually send these camels, and we can't. So as you can see, my army is defeated. But I move up my construction. Blocking in that side, keeping us safe again. Alex still attacking us here. So Nopro's southern base is now defended in Greece, and his northern base is now a little fortress of Korean strength. But it is now 3 versus 1. Shadow Nexus has gone. Sorry, 3 versus 2. But Nopro and I are still not completely allies. And Brasidas manages to push me out. Now, the reason at the beginning I was talking about no one ever backstabbing anyone is because Brasidas at this moment really felt like he had no hope left, because the Italians do counter the Indians very effectively. And Brasidas no longer has anywhere to go. His resources are running out. He's essentially trapped in Africa now. So he was feeling very much that the game was over, because I've still got all of Turkey, I've got all of the East, I'm now allied to Nopro. And I suggested to Brass over and over and over again that he abandon Alex and join me, and then we'll take down Nopro, and then it will be a South versus North fight. And he refuses to do it. He just refuses to do it the whole way through. And to be honest, I laugh about it, but it does really annoy me. The whole point of these games is that they're changeable. The point is that you don't get an ally at turn 1 and then stay allied to them till the end, which is, I think, defeats the whole point of the game. But Brasidas refuses to backstab anyone, and I just think it's stupid. I really do think it's stupid. Now, granted, that may be a moot point toward the end, but I still feel at this moment it was poor form. Really poor form, especially given that Melv and Alex and he had already formed this 3-way alliance, which is technically against the rules. And Alex and Melv are so intertwined now that Brass and I could really do damage against them. But he doesn't. So, spoiler alert, Brasidas does not abandon Alex, and he stays allied to him. Oh, and we've just gone over the 1 minute mark. I should have broken these up. No, 1 minute, 1 hour. I believe this game was 2 hours and 30 minutes in length. Or 2 hours and 15 or something. My navy then finishes off Alex's and we return control of the sea, but we have actually used up almost all the fishing spots anyway, so it didn't really matter. But we've respec'd and we've gone into farms. Haven't even used those berries. Still. Ah, but Melv is really now tying the knot. But Nopro is safe in the south, so they've got 2 to face. Brasidas is holding down the Nile Delta. And I have secured the edge into Turkey. What's this? The city... Isn't the city of Odessa around here? Going with the same army composition as before. But let's head into the north and actually watch something. As Melvelen moves in with his elephant-heavy army. The Khmer, of course, with their battle elephants. A weaker version of the Persian elephant, but still a bloody good unit. And all of his scorpion-based units. Alex, at the moment, applying pressure in the north as well. So Nopro in attacks in 2 places. But my wall doesn't even cover my whole bloody base. And Nopro warns me about this. But I take a little bit too long with it. Look at those elephants. They do so much damage. I haven't even got all of the bloody blacksmith upgrades. I'm so slow with those blacksmith upgrades. Here we are. Move the line slightly closer, but look at the army that's coming again. I'm preparing. But Brass is also preparing. And he has no support from Alex. No support at all. Alex is totally focused on Nopro. But I do manage to get all my villagers to pull away, build another wall, and so we're set up here. And the elephants aren't going to get through the castles, combined with the crossbowmen, who also get a bonus against elephants. But everything I have north of the wall goes down. Well, a large chunk of it in the centre here anyway. But Melv now has completely split our base, and he has built his own base in between us. In between Nopro's 2 bases. But we'll speed it up again, as there's no fighting at the moment. The elephants just die. Oh, no, elephants attacking the north. Breaking through the walls. But it's just such a toing and froing. The siege equipment of Nopro just survives for so long. He's got an outrageous number of bombard towers as well. But of course, bombard towers are outranged by bombard cannons. And thus, they are just sitting ducks if they're not supported. And Nopro's base is really taking damage now. I'm surprised Melv doesn't attack. Oh, it's because Melv's also attacking in the south. Really tying the knot. Tightening the noose. Right, I move in and find Brassadas's navy. Quickly change my mind. We've got to somehow get our whole army through this bloody little gap. And that's a massive part of the reason why we fail. But Nopro holds Alex away. He holds Melville away. But in the south, he takes a lot of damage again. And again, trees, though, helping Nopro keep that gap safe. Trebuchet supporting. He should flank round, really. Using the bombards to help kill the ships. So that all the ships are moving in to support the bombards. And now I'm desperately trying to move the bombards away from the shore, but the Condottiero, I moved them at the same time. I'm having such a mare. Do note as well that Genoese crossbowmen, being archers, do have a very strong advantage against ships. So my Bombard and Genoese army is more than a match for his galleons. And he takes a lot of damage, and we get through reasonably unscathed. Nopro just slowly being beaten and eaten away. Speed it up. I'm moving my army in so that we can hit as many ships as possible, but we take a lot of damage on the way in, which is bad form. And then he traps us because I've been stupid there. We lose quite a bit, but not a lot. We don't lose loads, and his galleons pay for it mostly. And we now have the Nile Delta. We can move the condots up. But Alex sending in ships to assist. Nopro slowly moving further and further south through Greece. Building bombard towers to take down the ships of the Byzantines. Alex just continuously coming with paladins over and over and over again. Now this is where if I could have supported Nopro, this would have been a doddle, because the Genoese laughs off paladins. Whereas the Khmer, they're outrageous scorpions, can bring down my Genoese. But the Greeks, as we shall now call Nopro, are slowly being pushed further south and south, more towards Corinth and Sparta. And away from Macedon. I've never really known if it's Macedon or Macedon. I suppose it doesn't really matter now, call it what you like really, doesn't it? Let's go for Macedon, it sounds better. Macedon sounds like a... I don't know what I think that sounds like. I've just noticed I've got a load of ships there, but I don't think the version of me that's actually playing this game notices that I've got a load of ships there, because I've just abandoned them. So that was foolish. Nopro really, really taking a battering now, though. But don't forget that we've got all of Turkey still, and we're still whoring it out for resources. So our resources are far from over. I should have used that navy. I can't believe I didn't know I had that navy. That's stupid. Right, my army moves in, and what we've got to face is walls, skirmishers, buildings, and camels, blocking me and Brassadas. Brassadas, beyond that, has got no resources left. I mean, he's got resources, but look, hardly any. Ah, Jesus. And he's got hardly anything left. I did not know that. I should have pushed harder. He's got a bit of a forest and some stone and gold here, but he's not got the level of resources that myself has with owning all of Turkey. I was in such a strong position in this game. Such a strong position. If we check on Nopro's situation as well, though, he has got low on the food and wood. Very low on food and wood, but he's got a load of gold. Alex, no gold. Food and wood supplies. And Melville, not very much gold, not very much wood, but quite a bit of food. And myself, an outrageous amount of food and wood, but not all that large amount of gold in the grand scheme of things. But our army arrives. Now what we need to do is ensure that the bombard cannons survive. Now Brassadas has arrived in the north in an attempt to ensure his survival. He has sailed away from Africa. But our armies meet. My navy has moved in to attack his docks. And his camels are coming through. Genoese protecting us in the south as the camels just run through them. They're going for the bombards. They always do. Well, that makes sense. The bombards are what will actually win it. The cannons are having a bad day with it. But his army takes a pounding. So does mine. So many cannon galleons full of those bloody camels. The paladins die faster than the camels do to the Genoese. I wonder if the Genoese don't get a bonus against camels. Maybe they don't. Who knows? No, I'm pretty sure they do. Now our army does win this, but we pay so heavily for it. And my cannon's just standing around. I'm not even moving them. It's such poor form. But his army goes down. Our army moves in. But we have hardly any troops left now. Now we've cleared him away entirely from the sea. We've got a proper navy. But Melvillon arrives at my southern border. So the Greek version of Nopro is basically now just some towers and some villages. The northern version has been slowly eaten away. And the southern version, Melvillon has broken through. And is hitting me there. Now my army does beat Brasidas' army, but as I've already mentioned, Brasidas escapes. So even if I beat him off of Africa, he runs away. Nopro signalling something. But we have an army ready to defend ourselves, and it moves in. But Brasidas, the lack of resources that he has in terms of gold and food, although he's used that, it's because he's focusing on the north now. He doesn't even care about his southern base any longer, I don't have thought. So we're just attacking in the south. Now, in the north, we send in the condots. Oh, I'm not focusing on me. And they get slaughtered by the double-shot crossbows of the Scorpion. However, they do take quite a few of the Scorpions down with them. Their fast speed and good attack damage ensures that quite a few Scorpions pay the price. We move in some bombards from the north that we had knocking around. And of course an army of bombards come in from the south. And shoot at nothing by the looks of things. But the way is open into my base very much now. Brasidas has also raided with his camels. Then there's no way through my wall yet. I'm still secure. And I've built a secondary one. If in doubt, build a shed load of walls. The army in the south does meet with really no resistance, but due to mismanagement on my part, it again gets defeated, but not for some time. Brasidas is heavily kicked out of Africa. I do a very good job of bringing him out of Africa. Right, at this point I also suggest to Nopro to flee and come and join me in Turkey, which I believe he does soon enough. He ships over some troops. As we do manage to pull most of Melv's army out and down. And then my navy is sailing in to cover the gap. We will flee to Turkey. If the north is to fall, which it does. It does. But then I've not got too many resources left here, so it doesn't matter all that much. We've still got all of Turkey. Nopro is being harassed and destroyed. I'm still the highest scoring player in the game, but that's a combination of just killing a lot of Brasidas' troops and having more economy than anyone else, really. It's not skill. I stress. Nopro has fought far harder and longer than I have. But Nopro is really backed into a corner now. Oh, and look, Brasidas has actually literally run his villagers away. He is Exodus. He is the Exodus of Africa. That's unbelievable. He literally abandons Africa and I still can't even bring down his base. How poor is that? But his army, his camels, begin dropping things north of the wall. Melvillon's coming in the south of the wall. But they've got to get across here first. And I'll be damned if I give up Turkey so bloody easily. Now this is where I go stupid. But then I didn't know that Brasidas had abandoned Africa. But I should have just kept my army together and just slowly moved around removing him. But I don't know why I didn't think that he'd run away. That was so stupid. Of course he would have run away. See, this is exactly what Grumpy Pirate should have done way back at the beginning. I mean, I know we're now an hour and 15 minutes later, or an hour later. But Grumpy should have run away to Turkey rather than just surrender. Brasidas is in the same situation at the moment that Grumpy was in. But he fights on. See, I do eventually pull my army together, and then Brasidas hits us with the Hussars, and I've only got 4 Genoese crossbowmen. So whilst the Genoese crossbowmen do a lot of damage against Hussars, there's just too many of them. And my army is beaten. But we've killed a large chunk of Brasidas' base, but my base is also going down. You'll note that I am allied to... Oh, am I? No, I'm still neutral to No-Pro. Even to this point, I'm still bloody neutral to No-Pro. This is why we felt so aggrieved when the... Melvolant is allied to Alex and Brass. So... And he's just sending a steady stream. My base is completely destroyed. But we fortify the southern side. We've got all of this still. So it ain't over yet. But we'll leave it at times, whatever the top one is. No-Pro's little bastion of resistance in the north is taken down as well. But No-Pro's still got a solid navy, and he from Greece he specs into turtle ships and starts showing the Byzantines that the turtle ships are the real master of the waters when cannon galleons aren't around. No-Pro is very positive. He always thinks that you can still win, pretty much right up until he's actually defeated, which is a cracking trait. And this game had gone on so long, it's been so hard fought, I didn't want to just resign. So we fight on a little longer, but there isn't too much time left. So this is a huge video, but then this has been ages since we did Age of Empires. I would thoroughly enjoy your feedback on this, because it's starkly different to everything else on my channel. But I love playing this game, I really do. There's such a simplicity to Age of Empires, I just enjoy. I'm going to get told off as well, because I told Jess I'd only be recording for about 55 minutes, and I'm 25 minutes late. But that's alright. She'll understand. He hasn't even got that relic. Madman! I fled with my relics. I'd captured 3 relics from the beginning of the game in a monastery in my town centre, and I sailed them away, and I got them into the monastery. We reclaim Turkey! And begin just doing nothing. So this is the crossing that they're going to have to get through soon enough. So we'll go back to ×4. There isn't much left. No-Pro is beaten out of the north now. It's just got houses. Interesting tactic sending scorpions against the bombard tower. That one paladin's going to do it, isn't he? Madness. But then Greece is quite secure. They've either they don't know it's there or they've just abandoned it. But No-Pro does what he can to harass Brasidas in Africa. And Melvolant is housed, interestingly, given that he's had peace for such a long time. Now, swapping back over to me, of course, all of our northern holding comes down. And we are having to re-establish ourselves. Houses going up. I'm building a blacksmith for some reason. Absolute waste of money. I've already researched everything in the blacksmith. My army rebuilds. My nation reassembles. The fleet stands ready, and the Khmer come. Now, Brasidas breaks through the wall and tries to come this way, but he blocks him there. He's trying to raid us. Brasidas, if in doubt, Brasidas always defaults to just trying to raid you. And he goes off for that. But a detachment of my ships sail away to ensure that this path is contained. But it's very much now just, can we survive? Our ships all move out and get annihilated by those scorpions. Good lord. I don't know why I moved the ships out. Oh, because I feared the trebuchets. But the camels bugger off. Brasidas now has just fully reset up in the north. So even if we had managed to succeed in the south, but Alex has actually finally come to assist him, which is interesting. And he's also now pushing back on the sea. And the two armies meet at the crossing. The elephants are coming in. Hordes of the elephants are coming in. But the bombard cannons, supported by the Genoese, they take down quite a few of those elephants before it gets a bit... before the payoff really goes in the elephants' favour. It's hordes of the buggers. Although those elephant baluster elephants really take damage from the Genoese, don't they? It's unbelievable. No pro, constantly sending in markers. See, the army I had here, I was going to move in and finish off Brass, but I stupidly just had no idea Brass had ran away, so there would have been no sense moving in on Brass at this late stage. It would have been foolish. So the army pulls north. And we've re-established. No pros here as well. And so now it's the whole world, or the whole of Western Europe versus Turkey. As you might imagine, we've lost this game, but... we do fight on till the end. Maybe it was 2 hours and 30 minutes at the point of resignation. I can't remember. I will keep it sped up now, though, because it is just a countdown to the end. And all we want to see now is the stats. And you won't get the real stats unless they're shown at the end. Brasidas tries to raid through, gets his camels caught. But then they go the other way and are successful. They've taken me down out of that southern side, but then, the turtle ships are just bloody too late. If they'd got to that crossing... because they fire a cannon-style bullet. And they're really good against sea and scorpions. Look at that, one bullet is a kill. And they are tanks. They're tanks on the water. But now the terrain works in our favour, but Brasidas has come with his own cannons. We can't get them. We can't reach them. But we managed to hold. We're safe in the south because nothing comes from this way, and Brasidas is basically out of the south. But even Melvillon has now moved into the south to support, and troops are coming. But we've held at the straits. The arrival of the Koreans ensures the survival of the Italians in Turkey. And we retake control of the straits, the Sea of Marmara. I'm pretty sure it's called that. It might be called something else. Now, in the south, though, they come, and stupidly, what happens here, which I'm eager to actually watch this, is despite having these 3 towers and 3 castles, this army sent by Alex gets through, and I don't really know how. Is that turtle ships doing its job? Oh, they're bombard towers. See, look, they're taking a right pounding. But they just get through. They just walk through. I should have built a wall. Why didn't I build a wall? Alright, so back at the sea, we've actually crossed over onto the other side because we've got a bit too big for our boots, really. And then this army just makes it through, and I have nothing in my base to stop it at the moment. I haven't even noticed it yet. Such poor performance, even though NoPro did point it out to me. So Alex, with some champions of all units, interestingly, makes it through. But we're still holding this straight, but we've lost everything else now. We've lost everything else. But I managed to get a town centre up over there. I try to re-establish a bit in that northern side. He has spread his units out. A castle, apparently, was my answer to the units he sent in. Oh, onagers. Genoese filling up the gaps. Oh, and those baluster elephants. Alex doing real damage, actually. But we build another castle because we've got the stone. We've taken down loads of the forest here. It's a real countdown. In the north, I managed to build a town centre, I start to build villages, and I start to build barracks. Because the condottiero is fast to train, fast to move, and it annoys people no end when they see a horde of them arrive in the back of their base. And Melvoland then discovers us, though, and it's a bit too late. And it's over before it even begins, really. Now, in the south, I do build a wall, so it doesn't happen again. And those units are killed by the castle. So we're back at the Straits. And this is where the Scorpions do a right number on us. Especially with their double bolt. I mean, it's a favourable payoff for us, but... Oh, and Brasidas comes with onagers. Now, the first one goes down without firing a shot. So does the second and the third. But the skirmishers then arrive as well. The real counter to the Genoese. But we don't have the support anymore, really, to hold it. Our attempts to build troops in the north has gone reasonably well, but Melv sends in a ton of elephants. We get a horde of condots out, and we manage to do some damage, but there's just no hope, really, is there now? Melvoland comes with an army in the south. And they beat us out of the crossing. It is not long now, I do not believe, until the end. Oh, we're at 2:30 though. Melvoland's coming in the south. They're closing in. The noose tightens around us. Our base in the north is swiftly defeated. Elephants combined with a couple of camels, with some cannons and some trebs. Interesting that they don't bring trebs at any point in the south, isn't it? As they would do, they would break most of these buildings down without any real trouble. I try to run my villagers away, and Brasidas sees them and traps them, and they die up here. Now, Nopro still has Greece, though. And together, he and I are still the highest scoring players. But that's the point at which we resign. And Nopo follows soon after. But we can't do anything anymore. It's a countdown till the end. And Nopro resigns. Nopro resigns. And Brasidas, Melvin, and Alex take the win through cheating. Through cheating, I tell you. And the final scores are as follows. I and Melvoland were the most valuable players, and I had the highest score. Although I lost, which is probably why this is a good one to show, because I lost, but I was still technically the best player. Military-wise, Nopro killed 2,400, and Alex lost 1,800. I was second, I believe, on both of those stats, though. Yes, both units killed and lost. Very much a 1-for-1. Melvoland took down 290 buildings. Christ. Nopro lost 330. I converted a single unit, thus claiming the unit conversion, and had the largest army. Economy, I got the most food and gold, and Nopro got the most wood and stone, which is quite interesting. I should have had the most resources. Yes, I had the most land available to me at all points of the game, until the end. Trade, Melvoland is the only one that bothered with it, and he got 9,000. And Alex tributed... Brasidas tributed to Alex, which is interesting. Maybe when he thought he was going to die. Technology-wise, Nopro was the first to feudal and castle, but Alex was the first to imperial. But we were all reasonably around the same sort of time, except for me and Melv, who were a few minutes behind. Oh, and Shadow, of course. Kind of forgot he was even there, didn't you? And map explored, Brasidas got the most, and I researched more than anyone else. Society-wise, 18 total castles between Bras, Nopro, and myself. Now, this is interesting, because I got 3 relics. Oh, it's relics that you've taken from someone else, isn't it? Ah, so Melvoland stole relics. Because I got 3 relics, but only one of them apparently claimed from someone else. Relic gold, Brasidas got the most. And villager high was myself with 213. And there's the timeline. So even up till pretty much the very end, I had a huge chunk of the army size. Vast army. But that concludes the episode. So I do hope you've enjoyed this foray into Age of Empires. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. and that I eagerly await your feedback. I stress, don't try and watch this all in one go, because it's as long as a film, and that was never intended. I should have sped it up more at the beginning, but it's been enjoyable, it's been fun, and I now part. So next week we'll start with the Rune campaign. There'll be one more Gondor episode tomorrow, though, so you've still got that to look forward to. And then next week there will be Rune starting up. And we've only got 3 or 4 faction overviews left. 3, I think. Ered Luin, Cand, someone else, Anduin and Khazad-dûm, I think, possibly, or Dunland and Khazad-dûm, something like that. So all coming to a head. But for now, that'll be all. So thank you very much indeed. And until we speak again, dear friends, Navar Naden Peremad Melunin, and farewell.